Choose from the following list of ions to answer the questions. You can use a screen annotation to answer the first question. Gives a lilac color. You can use a chat or a screen annotation. Gives a lilac color in a flame test. So that's potassium ion. Yeah. Form a gray-green precipitate with aqueous ammonia. Gray-green precipitate with aqueous ammonia. Yeah, what's the answer for the second one? Gray-green precipitate. Copper 2 is forming blue precipitate. So it should be chromium. Forms a white precipitate with sodium hydroxide. Which forms white precipitate with sodium hydroxide? Calcium, that's right. Forms a cream precipitate with acidified silver nitrate. Cream color precipitates. Silver nitrate is a test for halide, chloride, bromide, or iodide. If it is a chloride ion, it will give white precipitate. If it's a bromide ion, it gives cream precipitate, and iodide ion, yellow precipitate. So this aqueous silver nitrate is test for halide. Cream precipitates because of silver bromide, so bromide ion is there. Forms a white precipitate with barium nitrate. So which one forms a white precipitate with barium nitrate? Yeah, the last one is sulfate, SO4. Describe how to do a flame test. So how we carry out a flame test, you can see the procedure for flame test. We'll take a nichrome wire, a nickel and chromium wire is there. Take the sample, the compound, and place above the red hot or the hottest part of the flame. So use nichrome wire dipped in HCl. Then we'll take the sample, then place above the hottest part of flame or the Bunsen burner. In the next question, magnesium phosphate contain magnesium ion and phosphate ion. Deduce the formula of magnesium phosphate. What is the chemical formula of magnesium phosphate? What will be the chemical formula of magnesium phosphate? You can use a chat or screen annotation to answer this part. That's right. Mg3PO4 in a bracket 2. That's correct. Sulfur exists as number of different isotopes. What is meant by the term isotope? How we define the term isotopes? Definition of isotope. Same proton number but different neutron number. That's we call isotope. Atom of same element. That's right. Sulfide ions has a symbol. How many neutrons are there in a sulfide ion? How many neutrons are there? 18, because when you subtract 36 minus 34 minus 16, that's equal to 18. How is sulfide ion formed from sulfur atom? How a sulfide ion is formed from sulfur atom? By gaining 2 electron. That's right. Which element forms an ion with 2 plus charge that has the same number of electron as sulfide minus 2? In sulfide, how many electrons are there? It is having 18, because 16 are protons, 16 electron in neutral, but minus 2, so it means it has 18 electrons. So we have to mention an element which is also for having 18 electron. So calcium, normally calcium atom is 20, but because it loses 2 electrons, so it will be 18. If we write argon, argon is having 18 electron, but argon does not have charge. But they're asking which element forms a 9 with a 2 plus charge and has the same number as sulfide minus. So if they ask for atom, then argon was the right answer. Manufacturing of a sulfuric acid by a contact process occurs in 4 stages. The molten The molten sulfur is burned in air to produce sulfur dioxide gas. Sulfur dioxide is reacted with oxygen to form sulfur trioxide. Sulfur trioxide combined with concentrated sulfuric acid to form oleum. And oleum is diluted with water or added to water, form sulfuric acid. Complete a chemical equation for stage 1 by adding an appropriate state symbols. What are the state symbols? State symbol means how they exist. Yes, you can use the screen annotation or chat to mention the answer. State of a sulfur, state of oxygen, and state of sulfur dioxide. Sulfur exists as a solid, yellow solid. Oxygen exists as a gas, and sulfur dioxide is also a gas. Sulfur is a non-metal, but sulfur exists as a solid at room temperature with a low melting point. It's a yellow solid. Next, name the catalyst used in stage 2 and state the temperature used. What is the catalyst used when we convert sulfur dioxide into sulfur trioxide? The catalyst for this reaction. Yes, vanadium pentoxide, that's right. And what is our temperature? The temperature is around 450. Write a chemical equation for stage 3. Stage 3 is sulfur trioxide combined with sulfuric acid to form oleum. So sulfur trioxide mixed with sulfuric acid to form oleum, which is H2S2O7. And stage 4, oleum is diluted with water, so H2S2O7 plus H2O gives 2H2SO4. Sulfur dioxide is a toxic gas. State one environmental reason why sulfur dioxide should not be released into the atmosphere. Why a sulfur dioxide should not be released to the atmosphere? It causes acid rain, that's right. Then describe a test for sulfur dioxide. So test for sulfur dioxide is acidified potassium manganate 7. And the observation is it will turn from orange, purple to colorless. In the next question, sulfur dioxide react with sodium sulfide to produce a compound with the following composition: 29.1% sodium, 40.5% sulfur, and 30.4% oxygen. Calculate empirical formula. So from percentage, how we can find empirical formula? So first step, we divide by atomic mass. So we have sodium is there, sulfur is there, and oxygen. So this is 29.1 divided, and this one is 40.5 and 30.4. So first, because sodium atomic number, you will have the periodic table in exam, so you can use that periodic table and find the atomic mass from the periodic table. For sodium, it is 23. So for sodium, it is divided by 23. For sulfur, it is divided by 32, and oxygen, it is divided by 16. What is the answer? 29.1 divided by 23. The first one, 1.267. 1.265. Okay. What about the second one? 40.5 divided by 32. 1.27. And the last one, 30.4 divided by 16. 1.9. Then what we will do, we will divide by the smallest value. Which of them is smallest? 1.265 is the smallest value. So we divide all of them by 1.265. This will be approximately 1.9 divided by 1.265. That's coming out 1.5. So whenever one of the ratio is 1.5, you will multiply all of them by 2. So this will be 2, 2, and 3. So it contains 2 sodium, it contains 2 sulfur, and it contains 3 oxygen. Is it clear? So the empirical formula is Na2S2O3. In the next question, this question is about the metal and the metal oxides. The molecular formula, you cannot work out the molecular formula right now, because to get the molecular formula, if the question was calculate molecular formula, then molecular formula is equal to empirical formula multiplied by N. So, and what is N? N is molecular mass divided by empirical mass. So molecular mass should be given to you, and using that, first you'll find N, and N is multiplied by empirical formula to get the molecular formula. But because information about the molecular mass is not given, that's why you cannot find the molecular formula from without that information. This question is about the metal and metal oxide. Most metals have high melting point. State one other physical property that all metals have. Physical property. So all of the metal can conduct electricity. That's right. Good conductor. Iron often rust. Name two substances other than iron that must be present for iron to rust. So which two substances we need? Oxygen and water. Iron can be obtained by heating iron 3 oxide with zinc powder, because zinc is more reactive. So zinc can displace iron from its oxide. For rusting of iron, basically, if you have a piece of iron, how a rusting occur? Iron react with oxygen and water vapors in the atmosphere, and it form hydrated iron 3 oxide, means Fe3, Fe2O3 dot H2O. So you can see it is a iron oxide, hydrated iron oxide, which is a red brown, or we also call that as rust. So for this rusting to occur, iron should react with oxygen and water vapor. That's why both are required to form this layer of rust on the surface of iron. Iron can be obtained by heating iron 3 oxide with a zinc powder. What can be deduced about the reactivity of a zinc from this reaction? What you can say, which is more reactive? Zinc is more reactive or less reactive? So as zinc is able to displace the iron, so what we can say? We can say zinc is more reactive than iron. The ionic equation for this reaction is shown. Means this is the equation is given. Identify oxidizing agent. Oxidizing agent, the substance which help in oxidation, and by itself it is reduced. And reducing agent, the substance help in reduction, by itself it is oxidized. So as you can see, iron is 3 plus 3, it become iron. So means it gain electron. So if something gain electron, that's called reduction. So for iron, reduction happen, or iron is acting like an oxidizing agent. For zinc, what happens? Zinc atom changes to zinc ion. When atom changes to ion, it means it lose electron. Loss of electron means oxidation. When a substance lose electron, we call oxidation. Itself, it is acting like a reducing agent or reductant. So the question is, identify oxidizing agent. So which substance is oxidizing agent? You have to mention iron plus 3. And why? Because the definition of oxidizing agent is same as reduction, because it gain electron. Zinc is amphoteric. Zinc oxide is amphoteric. Describe a simple experiment to show that zinc oxide is amphoteric. Name the reagents. Reagent means the chemicals which we need, and describe what you will observe. Because amphoteric oxide can react with acid, they can react with alkali as well. So reagent, what we can do, we can use sodium hydroxide, aqueous sodium hydroxide, or alkali, any named alkali. And what is the observation? We'll observe that the zinc oxide react and it will dissolve. And we can add hydrochloric acid. And what will be the observation? Again, we'll observe it will react, or zinc oxide dissolves here refers to that the reaction occur. Insoluble salts can be made by precipitation. Precipitation means when we mix two salt solution and a solid is formed, we call this reaction as precipitation. A student mix solutions of some soluble salts. All nitrates are soluble, so a student mix them, and these are the result. All sodium salts are water soluble. Use only the result from the table to answer the following question. Which of them, because when they mix cobalt nitrate, actually it's like cobalt nitrate mixed with sodium iodide, then cobalt nitrate mixed with sodium carbonate, and cobalt nitrate mixed with sodium sulfate. Same way, silver nitrate mixed with sodium iodide, silver nitrate mixed with sodium carbonate, silver nitrate mixed with sodium sulfate, and so on. Now the question is, uh, name an insoluble cobalt salt. Cobalt nitrate mixed with sodium carbonate, it is forming a purple precipitate. It means this is insoluble salt. But what is the name of this insoluble salt? If it is forming insoluble salt, means precipitate will be there. Cobalt nitrate, when we mix cobalt nitrate with sodium iodide, it does not form insoluble salt. That's why no visible change. But when cobalt nitrate mixes sodium carbonate, a purple precipitate. So what is that purple precipitate? That's cobalt carbonate. Because what happened, like you have cobalt nitrate mixed with sodium carbonate. So when you mix them together, what you observe a purple precipitate. So as you observe a purple precipitate, it means a reaction occurs. Sodium take position of a cobalt, or cobalt took, so it formed cobalt carbonate plus sodium nitrate. And because I already they mentioned all group 1 sodium salts are water soluble, so this will be aqueous. So what you're left with, cobalt carbonate. Is it clear? The next one is an insoluble yellow lead salt. This what is the name of this salt? When lead nitrate mixed with sodium iodide, it forms yellow precipitate. What is the name of the salt? So it will be lead iodide, because that's right, lead nitrate was added to sodium iodide. So again, sodium take position, double displacement. So it will form lead iodide, and this lead iodide is yellow PPT. So this was lead iodide. In the next question, write a chemical equation for reaction of silver carbon in which silver carbonate is formed. So which reaction silver carbonate is formed? We have to write a chemical equation. So you can see when silver nitrate is reacting with sodium carbonate, this will form silver carbonate. So we have to write an equation. So AgNO3 plus Na2CO3 so silver nitrate was added to sodium carbonate. This will result in a formation of silver carbonate. So silver carbonate will be Ag2CO3 plus sodium nitrate, and the equation must be balanced. So if I put 2 here and put 2 here, so sodium is balanced, carbonate is balanced. So all of them are balanced. Write ionic equation in which a lead iodide is formed. So how to write an ionic equation for lead iodide is formed? So we have this. So because lead nitrate, when it reacted with sodium iodide, you can use the blank space available to you, and you will find in between the pages. So it will form lead 2 iodide PbI2 plus sodium nitrate. Equation must be balanced. So this equation is balanced. Now this is aqueous, solid, aqueous. So cancel out the common ion in aqueous. So nitrate ion can cancel with nitrate. Sodium will cancel with sodium. So you are left with lead ion, which is +2, and 2 iodide ion. This will result in a formation of lead iodide. Is it clear? The ionic equation for formation of lead iodide. The next question, aqueous silver nitrate produce a yellow precipitate with both iodide ions and carbonate ion. When testing an unknown solution of iodide, the aqueous silver nitrate is acidified. Why the aqueous silver nitrate is acidified? So what happened, as you can see, when you have a silver nitrate, it was giving a yellow precipitate with both iodide and carbonate. When testing an unknown solution of iodide, aqueous silver nitrate is acidified. What is the reason why we acidified or add acid? Because if the carbonate ion is there or present, then we can easily recognize, because both are giving white precipitates. If you add like silver nitrate mixed with sodium iodide, yellow precipitate, silver nitrate mixed with sodium carbonate, yellow precipitate. So how you can distinguish which one is this yellow precipitate? So we can use it to differentiate from carbonate ion or remove the carbonate ion, or acid can react with carbonate ion. I'll show the marking scheme as well, the points. So acid react and remove the carbonate ion. In question 5, part A, part of the structure of a synthetic polymer is shown. What type of synthetic polymer is A? Means whether, because there are two types of synthetic. One, it can be addition synthetic polymer or condensation synthetic polymer. What kind of polymerization is this? when carbon chains are linked with each other, like one carbon molecule linked with another carbon molecule, that's addition polymerization. Did use the empirical formula of the simplest ratio. Even you can, for all these, like how to take an or find an empirical formula, it's a simple, like count how many carbon and hydrogen, take a simplest ratio, and you will find that the ratio will be 1:2. Draw the structure of the monomer. How to draw the structure of the monomer? So what you do, you just take the first two carbon atoms and remove rest of them. So first, just take the first two carbon atom and remove rest of them. And monomer should have a double bond between the carbon atoms. So this will be CH3, 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 CH3. Is it clear? So what we did, we just take one part, the two carbon atoms, and then remove from the structure and make a double bond between them. The formula C4H10 represent two different structural isomers. What is meant by structural isomers? So definition of structural isomers: compounds with same molecular formula, but different structures are known as structural isomerism. Then we have to draw the two structures of C4H10. What is C4H10? It is butane. But because 4 carbon. And if you, how I identify it's an alkane, because the general formula of alkane is CnH2n plus 2. So number of hydrogen are always twice plus 2. So 4 multiplied by 2 is 8. 8 plus 2, 10. So it is butane. So what I have to do, I have to draw the two isomers of butane. Whenever you're drawing the isomers of alkane, first make a straight chain and you have to show all of the bond. So first draw the carbon chain structure and then remaining will be hydrogen. Then make a branch, but don't make a branch like this. Like what student used to do, they consider this is branch. This is wrong. This is not the branch. This is also a straight chain. Branch should be with the second carbon, not consider with the first carbon. So up or down you can make. That will be the branch. All structural isomers of C4H10 are flammable. Flammable means they can catch fire. Write a chemical equation for incomplete combustion, means it does not burn completely. What will be the incomplete combustion? Incomplete combustion means unburned carbon. You can write, it is having many possibilities. Carbon monoxide can be there. You can see here acceptable water and carbon monoxide or carbon, but it should be balanced as well. It should be balanced as well. So C4H10 plus O2 plus H2O. And then balance, for balancing, we start with carbon. For 4 are there, so I will put 4. Carbon is balanced. For hydrogen, 10. Because for combustion equation, carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen will be there. So 4 carbon, for hydrogen 10, so we put 5. Hydrogen is balanced. Now for oxygen, 4 and 5, 9. So we need 9. 9 means 4.5 or 9 by 2. This is acceptable, or if you want to write them in whole number, then multiply all of them by 2. Is it clear? The balancing part. Okay, in the next question, this is related to moles. So we will do the question related to moles as well. Dilute hydrochloric acid react with sodium carbonate. The chemical equation is shown. 25 cm cube of sodium carbonate was placed in a conical flask. Few drops of suitable indicator, and it was titrated with hydrochloric acid of concentration 0.180 mole per dm cube. 20 cm cube of hydrochloric acid was used to reach the end point. Calculate the concentration of sodium carbonate. That's a full question. But whenever you solve a question related to mole, you will follow the steps. Like, it's not like directly you will get the answer. You will follow the steps. So first, we need moles of hydrochloric acid. Now, to get the moles of hydrochloric acid, what is given to us? We have the volume of hydrochloric acid, and we have the concentration of hydrochloric acid. So the formula which we use, if we know the volume and concentration, that moles equal concentration multiplied by volume of solution. The concentration is given 0.180 and the volume is 20 cm cube, but this should be in dm cube. So what I will do, I will divide by 1000, because the concentration is mole per dm cube, so volume should be in dm cube. What is the answer for this part? 0.018 0.18 multiplied by 20 divided by 1000. What's the answer for this? 0.036. So we have 0.0036. These are the moles of hydrochloric acid. So we have the moles of hydrochloric acid. The next part, calculate number of moles of sodium carbonate. How to get the number of moles of sodium carbonate? Look, we have the volume of sodium carbonate, but we don't know the concentration of sodium carbonate. So if we don't know the concentration, we cannot use a formula. So what else we can use? There's also another way to calculate the moles, is by
volume divided by 24.
Volume divided by 24 is for gases. If it was sodium carbonate was a gas, then volume divided by 24. So we cannot use that formula as well. So if you cannot use a formula, then what you can use a ratio. How you can use the ratio? You already have the moles of hydrochloric acid, which is 0.0036. What is the ratio, the mole ratio between hydrochloric acid and sodium carbonate from the equation? What is the mole ratio from equation? If you have 2 moles of hydrochloric acid, then how many moles of sodium carbonate are there? 1. So ratio between them is 2:1. Like according to balance equation, if 2 moles of hydrochloric acid are there, there should be 1 mole of sodium carbonate. But how many moles of hydrochloric you have? 0.0036. So how many moles of sodium carbonate will be there? X. Cross multiply. What's the answer? It will be X will be 0.0036 divided by 2. So it will be 0.0018. Is it clear? I use a ratio. Why I use the ratio? Because I was not having uh, because to use a formula I should have all the required things. I don't have the concentration. I don't have. It's not a gas, so I cannot use volume divided by 24. Or I don't have the mass, so I cannot use that formula. Moles equal mass in gram over molar mass. So these are the moles of sodium carbonate. The next part, calculate concentration. So how to get the concentration? Now you have the moles. You have the moles of sodium carbonate and you have the volume of sodium carbonate, so you can get the concentration, because the formula moles is equal concentration into volume. So if I need concentration, the concentration is moles divided by volume. Moles are 0.0018. And what is the volume of sodium carbonate? It is 25 cm cube, but it should be in dm cube. So 0, I will divide by 1000, 0.025. So 0.0018 divided by 0.025. What is the final answer? 0.0018 divided by 0.025. What's the final answer for this? 0.072 mole per dm cube. That's the concentration. This was 0.0018 and this was 0.0036. So you can see it's not that difficult to get the moles. Now, in another experiment, the volume of carbon dioxide was 48 cm cube. How many moles are there? So how many moles? The formula for gases, mole equal volume of gas, because carbon dioxide is a gas. So volume of a gas divided by 24. But volume of a gas in dm cube, volume is given in cm cube. So 48 divided by 1000, so 0.048 divided by 24. What's the answer? 0.048 divided by 24. What's the answer? Mm. 0.002. So these are the moles of carbon dioxide gas. A sample of concentrated hydrobromic acid HBr was electrolyzed using a platinum electrodes. The concentration of hydrobromic acid is 8.89 mole per dm cube. Calculate the concentration in gram per dm cube. So these are the moles. We need mass in gram. So basically what we will do, moles is equals to mass in gram divided by molecular mass. Because why a molecular mass? Because it's a molecule, so molecular mass. If it is atom, then atomic mass. So basically what we are doing, we are 8.89 moles are present in 1 dm cube or 1 liter. We need how much is there? Gram per dm cube. So basically you have to convert moles into mass. So formula moles equal mass in gram over molar mass. But you need mass in gram. So mass in gram is equals to moles multiplied by molar mass or molecular mass. So moles, that's 8.89. But what about molecular mass? How to find a molecular mass? So HBr is there. So what you will do, you will use a periodic table. You can see we have bromine, which is 80, and the hydrogen is 1. So 80 plus 1, that will make 81. So this mass will be 81. So 8.89 multiplied by 81, that will give us mass in gram, and that will be mass in per dm cube. That will be equal to 720 gram per decimeter cube. Explain why concentrated HBr can conduct electricity. Concentrated HBr aqueous can conduct electricity. So what is the reason why a substance can conduct? Because it will have free ions. You can see here. Because it contain ion, and ions can move within the electrolyte or the solution. That's why it can conduct electricity. Magnesium is not a suitable material from which to make electrode. Explain why. What's the reason why we cannot have a magnesium electrodes? So because it is reactive, highly reactive metal. Predict the product formed at anode for when high concentrated HBr is electrolyzed. Concentrated HBr, it contain HBr and it contain HNOH. What will be the product at anode? Bromine gas will be there. Write ionic equation, which reaction occur at cathode. So at cathode, hydrogen will move. When hydrogen ion will move there, they will take 2 electrons, change to hydrogen gas. Okay, question 7. I think this is the last question for the paper. This question is about ethanol. Ethanol that is a suitable for use as a fuel can be manufactured by sugar such as glucose. Two-step processes there, like fermentation basically. Describe how this can be done. In your answer, include an equation in which ethanol is formed, essential condition in which ethanol is formed, and name the process used to obtain ethanol that is pure enough. So basically how we can purify, and this is of 5 marks. So what are the equation is glucose C6H12O6 decompose into ethanol and carbon dioxide, condition anaerobic around 30-degree yeast, and aqueous glucose is there. And how we separate aqueous glucose ethanol from the other substance by, because ethanol is mixed with water, so when two miscible liquids are there, we will use fractional distillation. Then discussion is about the bond breaking and bond forming. The equation for a complete combustion of ethanol is given. Use the bond energy in the table for a complete combustion of ethanol. Energy needed to break the bond. So which bond you are breaking? You're breaking CC bond, you're breaking CH bonds, you're breaking CO bond, OH bond, and then three oxygen double bonded with oxygen. And bonds which are energy release, the bond form or bond forming, CO bonds are there and OH bonds are there. And according to this number will be multiplied and calculate the energy change. Energy change is bond breaking minus bond forming. So you will get the energy change. I have shared this paper with you. So the calculation part of this you can do. Ethanol can be oxidized by hydrogen peroxide to form ethanol. The catalyst for this reaction is iron 3. What is meant by a term catalyst? A substance which speed up the reaction and does not change during a chemical reaction or not used up. So speed up a chemical reaction, 1 mark. Not used up or chemically remain unchanged, that is the second mark. The structure of ethanol is given. Dot and cross diagram. Show the structure, like use a screen annotation to show how electrons are shared between carbon, oxygen, and hydrogen. You can use a screen annotation for this to show the position of the electrons. You should use a different symbol when you're representing, like example, because the two electrons are shared between carbon and hydrogen. So if carbon you're representing with a cross, then other should be dot. Different symbols. So each line is representing a pair of electron. Then there's a double bond, so there should be two pairs. And oxygen is having lone pairs as well. For carbon and hydrogen, there is no lone pair. The table gives the boiling point of ethanol and ethanol. In terms of attractive force, suggests why ethanol having a lower boiling point than ethanol. So it depends on the number of the atoms, number of electrons. So weaker attractive force are there in ethanol. That's why to have lower boiling point. You have weaker force between the molecule. Ethene gas react with steam to form a gaseous ethanol. So ethene plus steam give gaseous ethanol. The reaction can reach an equilibrium. The forward reaction is exothermic. State and explain the effect of increasing the pressure on the position of equilibrium. So if we increase the pressure, here we have 2 moles, total 2 moles of reactant and 1 mole of product. So if I increase the pressure, where the equilibrium will shift? Towards right or left? Increasing a pressure shift the equilibrium towards side where number of moles are less. So in this case, it will shift towards right hand side, and you will mention reason because fewer moles are there. As you can see, it will move towards right because fewer moles of gas are there on the right hand side. Increasing a pressure of a gas increases the concentration. State and explain effect of increasing the pressure on the rate of reaction. So rate of reaction increases because the particles will have more collision. So reaction will be faster because more collisions are there per unit volume. Pressure, temperature, catalyst, all increase, surface area, all increases the rate of reaction. Position of equilibrium is changed only by changing the pressure, temperature, and adding or removing the reactants. State and explain the effect of increasing a temperature. So this reaction, they mention it's an exothermic reaction. So if a reaction is exothermic, reactants have low energy. Reactants have high energy and the product is having low energy. And they're saying we are increasing a temperature. If I increase temperature, so what I will get more? Reversible reaction, so I'll get more reactants back again. If the reaction is exothermic and I increase the temperature, so product will absorb most of the energy and equilibrium will shift towards left hand side. Rate of the reaction will increase, but the shifting of equilibrium is towards left hand side. So you can see move towards left, forward reaction is exothermic, so backward reaction will be endothermic. Is it clear? The last question. So this was May, June 2019. Sorry, October, November 2019. First variant, paper 4. Any doubt related to the class? So we solved the moles question as well. And tomorrow we'll do more practice related to moles question and solve paper 6. So I'll end the session and share the recording with you. Yes, Hashim, you have any question?